Today's episode takes us to the backside of Old Beach Mountain on the Avery-Watauga line. It's the story of Mr. Willie Trivett, a self-taught professional photographer from the early part of the 20th century. A man of many talents, Willie captured some amazing images of everyday life that sharply contrast with many of the stereotypical hillbilly images that so many outside photographers captured. Willie's photos, which were never published during his lifetime, paint a much more honest picture of what life was really like on the mountain. Here then is Willie's story.
Willie, like I think most Appalachian people in the first part of the 20th century, have to do a lot of things to survive. Primarily that's going to mean farming. But what I discovered from my research on Willie is that he's a jack of all trades. He was a carpenter, he worked at a sawmill for a little while, and then photography. About that time, 1906 or so, he rides off to the Conley Camera Company in Rochester, New York, and orders a view camera, a professional view camera. He also writes off for manuals, photographers' manuals, chemicals and things like that. And he teaches himself. I'm not exactly sure how he's exposing his photographs in the dark house because I'm not exactly sure when he gets electricity. So I'm not sure how he's doing that, if he's doing it with oil lanterns or something. So he's not working in the best of conditions. His quote-unquote dark room is basically a modified outhouse. The overwhelming majority of Willie's photographs are of children. Those are his best sellers. You know, parents, that's a perennial, right? Parents love their kids and they want pictures of them. And what's interesting about these photographs of children is, again, it shows the range of social and economic conditions in Appalachia. And this is one of the great things about Willie's photographs. Is that they are made in an extremely rural part of Avery County. And yet, despite that supposed isolation, you've got photographs of some children in full suits, ties, patent leather shoes, standing in front of automobiles. You've got photographs of little girls dressed up in navy dresses, which were the rage around the First World War. That any little girl in New York City would have worn. And then you got some of the most poignant pictures of little boys in overalls and barefoot that evoke, these kind of stereotypical visions of Appalachia. So you have all of that. And so what that tells me is that Appalachian was not a monolithic culture. It was not all poverty. It's a microcosm of modern America. You've got the poor, you've got the middle class, and you've got some well-to-do. There's some great photos of preachers who are very proud of their Bibles, and they make sure that they've got that in the photograph. One of my favorite photographs is of my great-grandfather being baptized on Beach Creek from about 1940.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
I love the one of the bear, I think it was Dudley Trivett and his dogs, his hunting dogs, and this great bear picture. And sure, you can consider that as stereotypical, but it's also iconic. It's just a great photo. There's some great photos, for instance, of these young lads who are pretending to be drunk. There are great ones, I think, of sometimes, a buddy will hold up a pocket knife to his buddy's throat or something like that. Kind of poking fun at this, rough and tumble, hillbillies and feuding and things like that. Willie's photographs of veterans. He's got pictures of World War I veterans, World War II veterans, school pictures of school kids proudly holding an American flag. Really do show the degree to which, at least his part of Appalachia, is very much plugged into a national culture and very much proud of being American. By the 1940s, 1950s, Willie's been doing this for 40 years or so, and he's beginning to age. So I think it's a combination of maybe feeling that he's done all that he can do, and I would get the sense just from what I know about Willie through my study of him that there was a sense of completeness. I've done my work. I've done this. It's good. And it's okay now. Now I can move on. We are extremely fortunate to have Willie's photographs, his negatives, and his papers. His obituary doesn't say a word about his photography, and that's because they're never published. None of his photographs were published in his lifetime, none of them. Because they're made for family photo albums. That's what they're for. And so he just sets it aside, and for about the next 50 or 60 years, that's what happens. The equipment gets sold. The negatives wind up in the attic of the barn next to my grandmother's. Pernicious little boys go up there and pilfer them and throw them down in the corn crib and watch them break, because they don't know what they're doing. And they're these scary images. If you're a little boy and you see these images, you hold up in the light, they look like ghosts. It's very kind of scary, kind of spooky, and so they get tossed out. So they are in the elements. I mean, they are in this barn for 50, 60 years. In all sorts of temperature, heat, and cold. And then when I was a graduate student at Appalachian State, finally dawned on me that these photographs and Willie's life would make a wonderful master's thesis.
Ralph's master's thesis would eventually be turned into a book entitled W.R. Trivett, Appalachian Picture Man, published by McFarland. If you'd like to learn more about Willie and his photographs, we highly recommend that book.